What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is Jay Nix. I'm coming at you with Tier 1.5 with a real quick video. I'm going to be running some maps, and I really quick just want to go over my gear to answer some quick questions. I currently am not doing the Chaos Immunity route for leveling, and I am loving this strategy. Absolutely loving it. Now, I should probably forewarn you, there have been a couple times where there's an attack. Specifically, it's like a slow-moving orb that flies forward, and I believe it does exclusively chaos damage, and it killed me like 3 times in a row in a labyrinth trial. But that is the only time I've actually faced that thus far since I made the change. That has happened once in, I want to say, about 15 maps. So overall, we're either getting really, really lucky, or alternatively, we're not running into that very much. I do think that the labyrinth is the only place where that's going to be the biggest problem, because it was damage over time, and because it was in the labyrinth, I couldn't get close enough to the pack, and I wasn't running fast enough to be able to have that leech that doesn't actually end, you know, on our life. So let me go through the key players and pieces of this build. We've got a wand that's basically just damage for our build. It's got spell damage, cold damage, crit chance, critical multi, and then added cold to spells. Nothing really special there. We've got boots down here that aren't really that special. We got 25% increased movement speed, and then resistances with a little bit of energy shield. Note they are armor and energy shield because it is easier to color for our cast when damage taken setup. We've got some gloves right here, Callista's Grace gloves. We are running 2 green sockets disconnected from 2 blue sockets. The reason for that is because we do want an Arcane Surge attached to our Flame Dash. Now, when you do this, guys, do not level up your Arcane Surge. It is supposed to be at level 10 or below. You can actually run it at level 6, and that is fine. The purpose for that being is that with Flame Dash, it is very, very challenging to ever get to the point of spending enough mana to be able to activate Arcane Surge. So it's better to get the more mana multiplier at a lower level of Arcane Surge than never to get it at all. So you'll notice in the videos, we're not actually running to our full potential. And that is part of the reason. On the other hand, the things that you'll notice about this build, we are running a Tabula Rasa on a low life setup. We do have all of our life reserved, and we have a lot of our mana reserved as well. And the way we are doing that is not chaos immunity, it's chaos mitigation, basically. So first and foremost, we did in the passive tree, we ran a tier 11 map. I seem to be drawing a blank on which one it is. Hold on. It is a Desert Spring map. Now, we did not run it with corrupted mods or anything challenging, especially before we got this, but that Pantheon does give us immunity to poison. So that is really nice. We also have 5% reduced chaos damage taken and 25% reduced chaos damage taken over time while on caustic ground. So basically, the caustic ground does not hurt us as bad. But other than that, we are running full, let me just pull up my profile here. We are running full chaos cap resistance rate of 75%. We also have all of our other resistances capped. That is very important. Primarily, the biggest player in that is the Broken Crown. Now, this is a meme helmet. A lot of people make fun of it because it's essentially useless. You can't sock it in any activatables because you're literally never going to see them go off unless you die, of course, which is never preferable for anyone. So basically, on the other hand, this is something that does give us a couple really nice things with the Broken Crown, which is specifically a lot of energy shield and really high chaos resistance. Now, we are only going to be running auras in this, so auras that reserve mana don't have anything to do with cast on death. That gem would not support them, so therefore we don't have to worry about it. Then we are maxing out our resistances by basically putting them on amulets and rings. And so chaos resistance and stats are the only thing on this amulet. It might as well just say chaos resistance, strength, and dex. That's all we need. Down here on the this ring, we needed dex, cold, and chaos. And then over here, we needed lightning, chaos, and cold resistance, and a little dex. So this was the most expensive piece. This was 3 chaos. These other rings right here were 1. The helmet is 1 alchemy at the current market conditions. We made the switch over to low life, so we have to have the build-enabling Prism Guardian. And then other than that, very, very important, we have a Doriani's Invitation. The reason this is important right now is because one thing you'll notice when you're mitigating chaos damage and you're not actually immune to it is you are going to have a problem with your life slowly depleting over time, and we are actually running a instant life flask just in case the belt doesn't keep up with it, but for the most part the belt has done an absolutely phenomenal job of keeping up with it. Now the belt, the one biggest change if you're going to play this style, and there's several different things, several different options for you to consider. This is not the safest. You're absolutely going to run into a place where you'll hit some chaos damage and you will die. You can choose two things. You can either not run that map. I mean, considering it only happened to me once every 15 maps or so that I was taking chaos damage that I couldn't leech out of, that was a very, very, very rare situation. But basically, in this scenario, you could not run it. Or alternatively, you could do what I did. You could just run it until you complete the map. Because right now, maps and trying to drop offerings in the cells maps are a lot more important. Plus, I'd recommend just staying away from potentially the trials. They are challenging with this build in general, and we do need a little more movement speed to be real comfortable with them. But I can put up some footage later, or you can watch my stream. I run all of them when I come across them in a map. But on the other hand, we are not taking Ghost Reaver. And the reason we don't take Ghost Reaver is because you will get some slow ticking damage over time on your life. It is very, very nice to be able to take and have that Doriani's Invitation leeching life back, so we don't have to worry. We can out-leech most of the damage over time from chaos damage, and that is absolutely working perfectly and wonderfully. You'll see in the maps, we don't really seem to struggle with the life at all. We're doing a very, very good job of mitigating it. It's very comfortable. I would say that right now this feels like any other soft core build I would play. I would not play this in hardcore, but it very, very much is very similar to soft core builds. It feels like you're dying maybe a little bit more, but truthfully, if with a better player that was better at recognizing enemies, you wouldn't have that problem. Other than that, our flasks are just generic, easy to find flasks. We've got a silver flask that we put warding on it with beast crafting. We've got a quicksilver flask, which we ended up rolling adrenaline on it. It's not a real great prefix, but that's okay. We do have a sulfur flask just to increase our consecrated, or our damage right there, and give us some consecrated nice, some nice crit chance, you know, and everything like that, plus a bleeding immune there. Freeze immune here on our diamond flask. Diamond flask you must have. That is the most important damaging flask. And then we do have an instant flask with bleeding immunity just in case we run into that more. I actually think I should be running 2 freeze immunities because freeze is a challenge when you have this. The reason being is because you freeze for longer. It's not that you freeze more often, it's that you actually do freeze longer if you have a lower maximum health pool. So that is, let's see, did I go over everything? I think I went over all of the gearing options that we are having. And now let me just pull up the path of building so you can see kind of what the setup is. This is exactly our build right now. No Ghost Reaver. We've got level 80 out of 80. So we've got all of our passive points allotted for. You'll notice we have not run the free, what is this going to be? About a 12%, no, about a 10%, nope, 12%. 12% damage increase by getting an extra power charge and being able to do increased spell damage with per power charge. So we have not run that yet, so this is prior to that. We're looking at boss damage, not shaper DPS on this particular path of building, but we're putting out about 800k damage, which is why this is such an effective build. For the most part, mobs that do spawn that deal chaos damage, you're melting them before they really hit you. And the next thing that I'll go over is basically like how much chaos damage you're really taking. So one of the builds, or one of the bosses in the game that they actually specifically reference for saying that it has really high chaos damage is the Weaver. The Weaver PoE. So the Weaver basically is a boss that they recommend. So the Weaver deals heavy chaos damage. So a decent amount of chaos resistance is a must. So basically the game is, I've always heard that the game is balanced around players typically having no chaos resistance. So if you get to a 0 chaos resist above, you know, the -60 penalty, then you are playing at a position where really you should be good overall. Now if we dig into this, what we find is that she uses Ethereal Knives, which does no chaos damage, and then she uses this Viper Strike. Now, Viper Strike converts 25% of physical damage to chaos damage, okay? And there are a lot of damage over time effects, but this is the type of ability that you're the most afraid of. Damage over time, you're going to be able to out-leech just with the Doriani's Invitation for the most part, and the more damage you're able to pump into that, the more that 0.2% life leech actually goes, the further it goes, and the further your leech actually accelerates so that you get more life overall. It's actually like the more damage you build in this build, actually the safer you are as far as if you're leeching. Okay, so then let's take a look at Viper Strike and let's see kind of how this calculates, okay? So basically, Viper Strike applies poison in a 4-second duration on hit, and overall it's affected by things that affect a lot of, like it basically is affected by increased duration, less support. Swift Affliction is specifically for the chaos damage, and then Despair, of course, is for chaos damage as well. So all of these things seem like they're really bad. We are immune to poison, so I'm not going to necessarily go over that until you get that Desert Spring completed, which it is a tough map. You will take some chaos damage there, so I'd recommend running a no mod map or a blue map with easy mods, and then doing that with a poison resistance flask, and also don't do it on low life. Don't get the pain attunement until after you run that. But I'm telling you guys, I would have done this at level 68 had I known how good it would perform. It's been performing for the last, let's see, 10, 15 levels for me. I think I made the switch actually at 71. I think I made the switch at 71. So I guess it's only been 9 levels for me. But basically, I would have done it right at 68. I would have made the low life switch. Now you have to remember that basically because you're taking 25% of physical damage converted to chaos damage, if you calculate what that is balanced around, let's say that a player is supposed to take 100% of chaos damage, or said another way, that they should have like 60% chaos resistance to balance the game out. Okay, we reduced that by 75, so we cut that in a third. So let's say a physical damage hit that's supposed to kill a player in, let's say, the yellow maps. Okay, a physical hit that's supposed to kill players normally comes somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 4,000 once it has multipliers attached, critical strikes. You know, that's a one-shot. Okay, that is a massive, big physical one-shot. Most players in the game would tell you that is a massive, massive one-shot. Okay, so now Viper Strike, which we've been told Weaver does a significant amount of chaos damage, so we have to assume that Viper Strike is a good example of this. So Viper Strike does 25% of its total damage in chaos damage, so that's 1,000. We reduce that by 3, or by a factor of essentially 4, actually. So it's down to 25%, so that's 250 chaos damage, which is less than our life, right? At the hit that crits and does a lot of damage to you. And then, so that's 250. That's already less than our life. We further reduce that by 5% less, which actually is a 25. It's a 20% difference, because all of a sudden we're going from, we've got, 25%. I think that's a less modifier instead of a decreased modifier. If it was decreased, then it would just be like after the 75% is taken, then it's taken again. But I believe that takes away 50 more health points basically from that hit. So of the chaos damage that is going to hit, you're going to take about 200 chaos damage at that point. Our life pool right now is sitting at about 330. So even with a massive big physical hit from a boss that is encouraging you to take, or it's telling you that it puts out heavy physical damage, and I have done the Weaver, by the way, without a problem. The Weaver has not been able to hit me, so that's part of the reason why we're surviving so long. But with that said, even if she does get off a really big hit on you, you should actually be able to out-leech it. Now, if she gets you hit twice in a row, well, we run into a little bit of a problem. But for the most part, I haven't been experiencing that. Most of the deaths I've had have been on me as a player because I'm not playing sufficiently well. But I'm going to go into a few maps and I'm going to show you how it plays. You can check it out and let me know what you think in the comments below as to whether you think this is a really squishy build or there's not enough. We did manage to get to 4,200 or 4.2k energy shield, and we did that by having some nice, good ES gloves with the Callista's Grace. We did get that from the Broken Crown. Has a really high energy shield. Got a bit of energy shield here on the boots, but again, not as good as you could get if you were working for it on some Sorcerer boots or something like that. The shield obviously helps a bit, but not a whole lot. We have no energy shield on an amulet, no energy shield here. We do have some intelligence there, so that gives us a bit, but not much. No energy shield here, and a little tiny bit here. I mean, that's what, a tier 5 roll? Tier 4 roll, something like that, tier 6. So that is all we're getting from our gearing. All together, if you added up every bit of gear right now, the Tabula Rasa is the most expensive. I think they're going for 16 chaos right now is what you can get them for. Some people might be able to get them around 12, 11C, something like that. So when you add up all the gear together and you ask yourself, how much is this gear costing? How much, how much have we actually spent on this? I think I've put in a grand total of, excluding the tabula, so let's say you get a 6-link chest that maybe has just a little bit of energy shield, which would actually be better if you can find a 6-link energy shield base that has a green socket, or if you can put a green socket in, you're really looking at a position where you probably are under 20C, most likely for this setup that we're running right now. I would say the flasks are somewhat expensive, but I rolled all of my own, so I don't know what they would be. And, you know, in the future, we're going to be running a Wise Oak for sure. That's probably the next purchase. Should be nice and cheap. And that's going to be what we run next. We are going to move these auras up to the helmet because right now we've got clarity and just leveling gems. So instead of leveling gems, we're going to move these up there, and then we're going to get a red and a green socket down here. We're going to run a phase run with a increased duration, which will make us significantly faster in maps. But without any further ado, I'm going to let you get into the map. I hope you enjoy the build a ton. It's really fun to play, and watch how I map, you know, on really high tier maps, low life. You know, and I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, you can only play it in softcore, and they're going to be kind of crap talking it. But you know what? I kind of am comfortable playing low life and having every once in a while have something that does kill me. I'm comfortable with that. This is not a glass cannon. I don't think it's a glass cannon at this point. I do think it's a cannon. Okay, but you know, and every once in a while you'll get a 100% chaos damage hit from, I think it's a mob that spawns, and it's a little mini boss in a magic pack, and he does exclusively chaos damage, and that unfortunately is enough to kill us. But that has happened to me once in the last 15 maps. Before that, well, I can't even say that it ever happened to me before because I wasn't running the setup. So try it out. If you're a person that really doesn't want to die and you want to go the safe route, feel free to go the Solaris Lorica on the chest and get the 5-link staff that does have the either support with cast when channeling spells or support with power charge on critical, so you still get your 6-link staff. That is a really good way to go. You won't put out as much damage. It is going to take you a little bit longer to be able to clear stuff, I believe, and it's going to be a little harder to get your resists, so that direction is more expensive. That's probably about a 100C investment. I would say 60 to 100C investment to go the staff route, but that's how I did it last season, and it's safe. It's super safe. You are going to breeze through everything. It's going to be really, really nice. Just make sure you get your energy shield up. The other option is a chaos inoculation. You can do that too. I mean, there are several different ways, and I might try to showcase them. I might ask some folks that follow my stream for some gear, so I can actually just do a quick video of maybe one map run with them, so I can show you those other options. But this is my chosen setup. This is how I'm going to be farming for Shav-farming wrappings. You'll notice I'm running the Tier 9 and Tier 10 maps with alchemies, okay? They are difficult mods. One of them was incredibly difficult, so I am running the maps I need to get to the Shav-farming wrappings, okay? And that is what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to get to that point. I'm comfortable. I'm very comfortable. I hope you are too. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Enjoy the video of me mapping.